What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel. So continuing our discussion on World War Hulk, we pick up with the aftermath of both the Incredible Hulk fighting the X-Men as well as absolutely trashing Iron Man's Hulkbuster armor. So of course at this point, Iron Man is like the first prisoner that's been taken by the Incredible Hulk. Now we'll learn that what the Incredible Hulk is going to do is basically turn Madison Square Garden into a massive gladiatorial arena, not unlike the arena from Planet Hulk, and he's essentially going to try to force the Illuminati to fight one another. But in this aftermath, we actually have the Iron Fist Danny Rand traveling to Doctor Strange. Now this is a scenario whereby it's basically all the mystics on Earth, or at least most of the mystics on Earth, that still have their powers, allying themselves with one another. But they also look to Doctor Strange because of the fact that he's so powerful. Keep in mind, Doctor Strange, despite the fact that his power was reduced a bit during the run of New Avengers, it's still this idea that Doctor Strange could effectively eradicate the Incredible Hulk easily. And in fact, this is a point that's brought up. This is a point that's brought up by Doctor Strange himself when he says, yeah, I could destroy the Hulk, no problem. Like, it'd be super easy to do. The problem with this is that we have to find another way. If I were to banish him to another planet, he would come back and he'd be angrier than he is right now because his anger is limitless. But he says not only that, the Incredible Hulk is an ally. Like, he has been a superhero. He's just simply pissed off because we really just brought this on ourselves. And so he says, I'm not going to kill him. We have to find a different way. And so from this point, we basically switch to the ground level of New York City itself, and it's really just whoever is left behind. Now this is kind of important because within the realm of Marvel Comics, the X-Men, again, as we had talked about, have been severely reduced to number. But not only that, the Incredible Hulk literally tore through all of them. And so, I mean, they're out of the equation right now. Like, the X-Men are not going to be part of the situation. Now, this is Greg Pak effectively just kind of dwindling everything down to the point where only one hero is capable of going toe-to-toe with the Incredible Hulk. We, of course, know that that's the Sentry. But the idea is to also take what's left of the Avengers, Carol Danvers, Doc Samson, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Luke Cage, Ares, the God of War. Like, it's pitting them against the Incredible Hulk and his forces in an effort to try to take them out. I mean, She-Hulk's here, but this is crazy because She-Hulk is one of the only characters in Marvel Comics that is as familiar with gamma radiation, or at least as relatively familiar with gamma radiation as the Incredible Hulk is, because she received a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner. And so the reason why this matters is that once Banner, once she takes on the Incredible Hulk as the only person that can really go toe-to-toe with his strength, or at least it's believed that she can, he takes her out with the greatest of ease. In fact, she gives him a blunt force punch to the face and nothing happens. And so when he takes her out so quickly, without ever really breaking a sweat, she simply says, God help us. Now, on the surface, this doesn't really seem relevant, but in the greater story, it's monumental because this is effectively She-Hulk saying, we're fighting a losing war. Like, we cannot win. Like, even if we were to defeat his Warbound, even if we were to beat, Korg and LOA and Heron the Shamed, even if we were to take all them out, it wouldn't matter because then we've got to deal with Big Papa Hulk and he ain't taking no prisoners. Well, I guess he is taking prisoners, but the idea here is that he could literally just take on the entirety of our superheroes. We saw that in the What If story where he killed them all. And so, I mean, it's not like they have a legitimate chance. This is also kind of funny here because this is also Greg Pak showing us just how strong the Incredible Hulk is. I mean, Doc Samson is strong in terms of his strength. I mean, he's very formidable. She-Hulk's formidable as well. And so are Carol Danvers. I mean, these are kind of like the powerhouses. Ares, the God of War. These are just some of the strongest people. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this is something that I want you to bear in mind too. Thor is not here. Remember, Thor was supposedly dead before the events of Ragnarok. And so right now, he's still in this afterlife kind of thing. That's why we don't have Odin's son here right now, because I imagine some of you guys, one of the first questions you're asking is, where the hell is Odin's son? Where's Thor in all of this? As far as the world's concerned, he's still dead. Now, he actually comes back after this during J. Michael Straczynski's run, I think, or maybe it's the start of Jason Aaron's run. I think it's Straczynski's run. But right now, he's out of the equation. He's out of the picture, which is why we simply don't see him here. But transitioning over to the Fantastic Four, we effectively have Storm of the X-Men, we have Black Panther of Wakanda, we have Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, Reed Richards. They're basically putting their knowledge to task for the purpose of developing a device. They can, at least it seems as though it can reduce the powers of the Incredible Hulk, and it can bring him back down to his normal levels. But the problem with this is there's actually a debate between Reed Richards and Black Panther, and Black Panther says, hey man, you guys brought this on yourself. I'm doing this because this is a world war now, because the Incredible Hulk will kill everyone, not just you. And so he could turn his sights on Wakanda and I would be powerless to stop him. So it's really not Black Panther helping, Reed Richards because he wants has to. He's helping Reed Richards because he has to. But if the Incredible Hulk just jumped out and said, hey guys, you know, all I'm gonna do is just kill the Illuminati and everybody else would be fine, Black Panther would have stayed in Wakanda. Like, he would have just been like, well, you know what, I mean, that's their problem. You know, I told them, because remember when the Illuminati first formed, Brian Michael Bendis one shot, when the Illuminati first formed and they asked Black Panther to join their ranks, he turned them down and said, what you're doing here is going to lead to some major conflict later on. I don't know what that conflict is going to be, and I don't know what the impact is going to be, but you are going to reap what you sow, and a reckoning will be coming. Well, this is the reckoning. This is the fruits of the Illuminati's labor. They sent the Hulk away, and he came back, unleashing absolute hell on the whole of humanity. And so once the Incredible Hulk becomes aware of the fact that the Fantastic Four are still working together, once he becomes aware of the fact that Reed Richards is sitting over there at the Baxter building trying to find a way to take him out, of course, he travels over there. Now, obviously, you know, with the Incredible Hulk right now, I mean, he takes out Johnny Storm. Now, this is not a small feat. I mean, this is not a small thing. And keep in mind, when it comes to like energy-based powers, Johnny Storm, it's insane how powerful he is. He's effectively the sun when he beefs up to the absolute extreme of his powers. I mean, when he blasts the Incredible Hulk, I mean, he's not blasting him with the full might, simply because if he did, he would destroy the world. But he's blasting him with enough energy to try to defeat the Incredible Hulk without destroying the world. Now, this is Greg Pak basically telling us, if Johnny Storm were going to try to use the full extent of his abilities, and if he were going to try to destroy the Incredible Hulk, he would annihilate the Earth in the process along with himself, and there's no guarantee he would still succeed. There's an insanely good chance the Incredible Hulk would survive. He would continue living on because his rage and his durability is so extreme right now. It's beyond anything that anybody's ever seen, that anybody can ever really withstand. And in fact, we'll actually find out that that the Incredible Hulk's power is on par with cosmic entities right now. Like, with this, his physical strength is on par with the cosmic entities of the Marvel Universe. And we'll actually find that out through Doctor Strange. But we of course have Ben Grimm stepping in. Ben Grimm's not got nothing to offer here. I mean, it's almost pathetic. Ben Grimm gets 2 punches in and then his head gets smashed, and that's it. I mean, he gets 2 swings and then that's the end of him. Like, he's literally taken down. Now keep in mind, you know, the Incredible Hulk didn't kill him because the Incredible Hulk's not there to kill Ben Grimm. The Incredible Hulk's not there to really kill anybody. He's there to capture people. If they decide it's better to die in the process of being captured, well then, you know, worse for them, better for the Hulk. But in his mind, all he wants to do is take them prisoners. Now, at this point, we're met with what seems to be the Sentry. And this is why I say the Sentry was an important character, because he's really the only character in the Marvel Universe that was able to fight the Incredible Hulk in his Worldbreaker form to a standstill. I mean, that's what we'll actually see later on. But at this moment, the Sentry seems to be calming him down, because remember, the Sentry radiates energies that quite literally calms the Incredible Hulk. Not only that, the Incredible Hulk always referred to him as Golden Man, and that goes back to the era of Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee when they first introduced the Sentry to Marvel Comics. But the Sentry's energies have the ability to subdue the Hulk. The problem with this is that this is not the Sentry. This is actually Reed Richards, and Reed Richards had basically constructed a device that allowed him to synthesize the energies of the Sentry in an attempt to calm Banner down. The issue with this is that Banner is so mad he cannot be calmed down. And so this seems like the fight is, you know, between Sentry and Hulk himself is basically just going to come down to brute force. Who can overpower the other? But with Reed Richards being taken out, of course, Susan Storm steps into the fray. And Susan Storm, I guess, erects force fields for the purpose of trying to contain the Incredible Hulk, or at the very least, trying to contain her husband. Now, what's really interesting about this is also Greg Pak reminding us where Susan Storm stands. And this is why I say people tend to forget just how capable the Fantastic Four were. People looked at the Fantastic Four and they were like, oh, you know, when you look at the X-Men and you look at, you know, some of the members of the Avengers and you look at Worldbreaker Hulk and so on and so forth, like, who are the Fantastic Four really? What are they really capable of? Well, they're capable of a lot. You know, Johnny Storm is equivalent to the sun and a little bit beyond in terms of his power. Susan Storm can create virtually indestructible force fields that some cosmic entities can't penetrate, that Galactus has actually had a hard time penetrating before. And so it's not as though they just kind of explore stuff, you know, and they invent things and they have a good time and they have a kid that can warp reality. The Fantastic Four are very capable in terms of their abilities. And I love that Greg Pak reminded us of this. You know, I'm glad that he talked about this. There we go. I can't talk. I'm glad he reminded us of this, because it's something very, very easy to forget when you look around the rest of the Marvel Universe. Now, Reed Richards himself, of course, is Mr. Fantastic, trying to stretch himself around, does what he can to subdue the Incredible Hulk, but in the end, he's just kind of pounded into the ground. Now, this is really just writing for the sake of having it, but in response to the fact that Reed Richards is defeated and essentially taken prisoner as part of the Incredible Hulk's gladiatorial games, we have Susan Storm contact the Sentry, and this is really a recurring theme. This is what's going to happen in the story over and over and over again. It's going to be people just pleading to the Sentry, and this is what Greg Pak's leading to. I mean, this is basis behind this is he's saying everyone is begging the Sentry to step in because, you know, I know I've made videos like, hey, look, Robert Reynolds is Marvel's version of Superman. I mean, he is. Hyperion is Marvel's Superman. Gladiator is Marvel's Superman. Blue Marvel is Marvel's Superman. But when it comes down to it, anybody with super strength, flight, some measurement to the sun, or some kind of atomic energy, and, you know, a cape is a version of Superman because Superman was the first superhero. I mean, he created the standard. So you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that doesn't make anything even remotely close to him, you know, and people will say, well, that's their version of Superman. But with the Sentry, this does not, whether he's Marvel's Superman or not, does not take away from the fact it's insane how powerful he is, even when he's not the Void. All right, even when he's just the Sentry, Robert Reynolds, and he keeps his powers in check, he doesn't allow his powers to go, you know, unlimited in terms of their abilities, it doesn't take away from the fact that the Sentry is stupid powerful in terms of his abilities. I mean, it's night and day. And what this story does, actually, this is one of the reasons why having him in World War Hulk was so important, is because it showed us the full limits of his power when he is the Sentry, exactly what his upper limits are and how far he can go before his body just kind of dissipates its energy and breaks down to his normal form. But what we end up doing is we actually pick up with the Incredible Hulk as he's taking Reed Richards back to his prison, and he's met with Rick Jones. Now, this is a quintessential example of the phrase, "and a child will save us," because Rick Jones has no powers, at least not right now. He's not A-bomb. He's just a regular guy. But he's one of the Incredible Hulk's oldest friends. And the reason why I say that is because when Bruce Banner was first exposed to the gamma bomb, it was because he was running out to the field to push Rick Jones out of the way. Rick Jones was saved, but Bruce Banner was blasted with the effects of the gamma bomb, and the Incredible Hulk was born. But Rick Jones was always the one guy who was in Bruce Banner's corner, no matter what happened. You know, come what may, if Bruce Banner could trust anyone, it was always Rick Jones. Rick Jones was always there fighting on his behalf. If the Incredible Hulk was taking punches left and right, you know, he couldn't see out of his right eye and he was stumbling to the ground, Rick Jones would stand up, put his boxing gloves on, and jump into the fray. Even if he knew he would lose, he would fight on behalf of the Hulk. And the Hulk views him as his really like his only true friend. And so when Rick Jones steps up and says, hey, look, man, I get that you're mad. All right, I get that these guys deserve to have their asses kicked for what they did. I get that they had it coming, you know, because of Civil War, because of the ineptitude, because of the stupidity of Reed Richards and Tony Stark and Ant-Man Hank Pym. They deserve what you're giving them, but not like this. They deserve justice, but not the way that you're doing this. And Rick Jones says, what you're doing is essentially revenge. This is not justice, this is revenge. Now, there's a fine line between the two. There's a very fine line between the two, and it's all about emotional state and motivation. But what happens is this moment when the Hulk seems to be vulnerable is seized on by Doctor Strange for the purpose of invading his mind. Now, when he jumps into his head and basically encounters the Incredible Hulk, he does what he can to go against him, but also allows, you know, various other superheroes to step into the fray for the purpose of trying to take the Incredible Hulk out. More so than that, you know, Hulk going against Hercules, you know, Hulk going against these guys, it doesn't make much of a difference. You know, the Incredible Hulk is still able to tear them down. The reason why Doctor Strange wasn't able to really stay in his head is because the Incredible Hulk effectively had to open himself up, whether he intended to or not. You know, Doctor Strange could not smash down the door of the Incredible Hulk's mind. He has to open it up. And the fact that the Incredible Hulk is so angry, the fact that he's filled with so much rage, makes that almost impossible. So because of the fact that essentially all of the Avengers have failed, because of the Earth superheroes are all the Earth superheroes are incapable of taking down the Incredible Hulk in his Worldbreaker Hulk form, General Thunderbolt Ross, observing the situation, says, these guys have had their chance, we're gonna step in. Now, let's, you know, of mice and men is really what this is. I mean, what hope does General Thunderbolt Ross really have against the Incredible Hulk right now? I mean, with all the weapons of man, you know, there's nothing they can do here. I mean, if some of the most formidable superheroes, if the X-Men couldn't take out Worldbreaker Hulk, if the Avengers couldn't take out Worldbreaker Hulk, if Greek gods like Hercules and Ares could not take out Worldbreaker Hulk, what hope do rockets and bullets have? But what this does show is that humanity is putting up a legitimate fight, but it also shows the idea that not everyone is okay with what the Incredible Hulk is doing. A lot of people are. A lot of general public are satisfied with the Incredible Hulk for a couple different reasons. Firstly, because they watched the Civil War event unfold. They saw the hubris of some of these superheroes in believing they could control the world, but they also saw that the Incredible Hulk was unjustly sent away by the Illuminati. The Illuminati took the law into their own hands and decided the world was better without a Hulk, never gave gave him a trial, never gave him a chance to defend himself, literally just sent him to the far side of the galaxy. And so a lot of people are very sympathetic to where the Incredible Hulk's coming from right now. But it's also because of the fact that people just love seeing shit get blown up. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing stuff get destroyed. There's a reason why a video called The Incredible Hulk Kills All the Superheroes and Becomes Galactus' Herald has 1 million views, because you guys love watching the Incredible Hulk just rip stuff up. But Doctor Strange, again, is doing what he can to try to get into the mind of the Incredible Hulk, but he doesn't really have an opportunity here. But finally, with the Incredible Hulk's distraction, with the Incredible Hulk's anger and his rage subsiding, even if only for a moment, it allows Doctor Strange to fully enter his mind. Now, this is Doctor Strange trying to really calm the Hulk down from the inside out, because when he gets in there, the Incredible Hulk's mind is a barren wasteland of destruction and death. Now, the reason why is because the Hulk at this moment right now, Worldbreaker Hulk, it's not that he's just angry. I mean, he is, but it's also because he's living in one moment in time. And that was one of the coolest things about this. That's why I loved Greg Pak's run with Worldbreaker Hulk so much, is because while he's being attacked on the outside by the armies of Thunderbolt Ross, while they're trying to take him down, while the superheroes are watching this unfold, inside his mind, he's having a discussion with Doctor Strange. Now, Strange is really bluffing here. I mean, he says, I could snuff you out, you know, with a simple move of my fingers. You know, Doctor Strange is full of shit. I mean, he couldn't do that. Let's be honest. You know, I guess he could, but it would require a level of power that he doesn't currently have right now. Like, it would require him to tap into energies that he's not wanting to tap into. That's why I said before, I mean, he could, but it would require him to delve into forms of magic that he doesn't want to delve into. Now, in terms of just his basic raw power, you know, he could put up a formidable fight, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't really be much of a challenge. And so what happens is he says, look, man, show me your true face. Show me what's going on behind the scenes. You know, let down your anger for a moment and tell me where you're coming from. And the Hulk says, look, you know, and this is beautifully written in terms of how it's done. The Hulk says, my wife's name was Kyra, and I hear her voice all the time. That's all the Hulk hears. He hears her voice when she whispered her honey words to him. You know, he hears her voice when she tells him that she loves him, when she says, this is your home. You know, it's the Hulk living in this moment, living in this time when he had a kingdom on Sakaar, living in this time when he had a future with his wife, when he was going to have a child, living in the love that he had at that moment in his life. And then in seconds, it all came crashing down because of the ship that the Illuminati sent him in. Now, this is really cool, man, because this is the calm before the storm. All right, Doctor Strange finally has Banner calm down, and he says, hey, look, we've known each other forever. You know, we've known each other for so long. We've known each other for years and years and years. And he says, I know who you are at heart. Like, you do not want to do this. You know, you do not want to be someone that wants to go through and kill superheroes. You know, he says, we fought enemies. We fought foes that people thought it was insurmountable, but we always came out on top. And he says, this is no different. You know, the enemy here is your hate. The enemy here is your anger, your rage, and you have to fight this. You have to calm down. And so once Banner's finally chilled, Doctor Strange essentially takes him on his way. He says, hey man, look, I've got you. You know, come with me, and as friends, we will solve this problem. And Banner says, yep, and I got you too, Home Slice, and he goes back into the Incredible Hulk form. What great writing, like what good writing in this story. So he's back to Worldbreaker Hulk, and he smashes the hands of Doctor Strange. Now this is important because Doctor Strange cannot effectively cast spells if he cannot use his hands and if he cannot speak. If he loses either one of those things, he's 50% power at best. And so, you know, the Incredible Hulk has effectively crippled Doctor Strange, taken away his ability to be the Sorcerer Supreme. And so at this point, it's just a matter of time before the Incredible Hulk finds him and the Incredible Hulk, you know, takes him as a prisoner, because Doctor Strange is effectively helpless. Following that, he goes through and just rips apart the armies of General Thunderbolt Ross. It's go time is what this is. He from the word go, the Incredible Hulk just starts smashing into everyone. And this is why I love this so much, because then we switch to Maria Hill, because remember, Maria Hill is really the person running S.H.I.E.L.D. right now with Tony Stark out of commission. And so she's speaking with the President of the United States, and the President contacts Robert Reynolds. He says, look, I'm the President of the United States, and I'm asking you for your help. I'm the most powerful man in the free world when it comes to government authority, and I need your help. And Robert Reynolds is just kind of like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. You know, I'm not really sure that I want to. And this is cool. Now, in terms of Robert's character, I mean, on the surface, that's the case. You know, on the surface, it's, well, you know, maybe I will, maybe I won't. He's kind of walking back and forth. But we also know that for Robert Reynolds, this is a very dangerous game. And the reason why is because all it takes is for a moment of weakness. All it takes is a moment for him to accidentally let his guard down, and the void's coming back. this multiversal destructive entity is coming back, and it will kill everything. And if Robert Reynolds cannot keep it in check, it will wipe out all things in existence. That's what we saw with Siege. The Siege what if story was the Void just emerging with 100% of its power and killing everything in existence, spreading out into the universe and just causing destruction across all of existence. That is what Robert Reynolds is absolutely afraid of. So on one half, he wants to stop the Hulk. On the other half, he's terrified of what may happen if this unbridled force, fully emerges and comes out here. And so what we end up doing is we transition with the Warbound of the Incredible Hulk, making its way into the Arcanum of Doctor Strange. Now, what Doctor Strange does here, because of the fact that his hands are broken, because of the fact that he's not able to practice magic the way that he needs to, what he does is he effectively summons the entity of Zom, this other dimensional entity. Now, this is huge because this is effectively Greg Pak and Doctor Strange saying the Incredible Hulk's strength right now is on par with cosmic entities. And the reason why I say that is because Zom was a being that not even the Ancient One could defeat. You know, Zom is a being whose magical power transcends almost all cosmic entities. As far as I'm aware, there was a story, and I can't remember that story for the life of me. I can't remember what it's called or what issue it was in, but there is a story where Zom had arrived on Earth and had overpowered Dormammu and Dormammu's sister. Doctor Strange couldn't stop him. The Ancient One couldn't stop him. In the end, it required the Living Tribunal to step in and stop Zom and send him back to his own dimension. Like, that's what it took. It took the second most powerful being under the one above all, a multiversal construct with infinite power to stop Zom. Now, here's kind of the kicker with this. With Doctor Strange, he's not going to have the full might of Zom. Instead, he's going to have, a portion of Zom's power. He's going to channel it, but it's just because of the fact that if Doctor Strange were to fully possess all the energies of Zom, at least as far as I'm aware, if he were to fully possess all of them, it would result in his body just being destroyed. Most likely, he just simply couldn't handle that much magical energy. But we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys drop a like, hit the subscribe button to become part of the Rob Corps, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, because we're one video away from being finished. After that, we go back to our weekly videos on the Incredible Hulk, and we pick up with where we were before. So like the origin of the Hulk's daughter and the second volume of Red Hulk, and so on and so forth. We'll pick up with the chronology of the Incredible Hulk after Worldbreaker Hulk, leading us up to all new, all different Marvel. But with that being said, we're gonna bring this video to an end, and I will catch you all later. Peace.